what they wanted was to because if all they wanted was to eliminate you.
Yes.
Do you have any idea what these people are after?
What they want is control of the pension fund.
Pension fund?
An independent agency within the ministry manages the national...
What?
And certain groups want to take bigger risks with that money. In other words, they want the help. They believe that's the only and secure the future.
I mean...
Of course. If we lost the gamble, then that's why the health ministry manages those...
Okay.
You do? Don't leave me...
To be able to gamble all this taxpayer money to save the... And here's Kusamoto-san, head of the office. Her position has the power to take action. To open... Not only if a new vice minister were to try it, it'd be...
So that's why they wanted to find her weakness and exploit...
Exactly. And if the 160 trillion yen gamble were...
Okay.
I'm guessing they've already contacted you?
That's an assumption.
I have to ask you about Shinya Kawai. I understand what your feelings must be towards Kawai.
If you've spoken to Kitakata-sensei, then you must know about the video.
I do.
Aside from Kawai, the other students pretended like nothing. They put on their sad faces, and they came to visit. I don't think they really wanted Mitsuru to wake up. In fact, that's what they were checking on. And what did I do? I bowed my head, and it was only later that Kitakata, that's when I knew.
And your solution was to pull them into the quagmire?
If you already know so much.
How's your son
He could wake up any minute now.
I see.
We transferred him to Toto University Hospital just this year, but it turns out they don't do anything much.
I get it now. Let me read it.
Then please.
Anything you want me to tell Kawana?
I do. He needs to run. Far away. Public security has their sights on him. His capture is not a question of if, but when. He's in danger if he remains, and once public security has him, they will extract everything.
You mean he'd be tortured?
Yes. Somewhere where no one can withstand what they do. He'd tell them everything.
They would expose your vulnerability, making you their pawn.
Most likely. They'd gamble away the taxpayers' money, and I'd never purge the corruption in the health ministry.
I get that.
What?
Because in my opinion, you need to turn yourself in, Kusumoto-san.
You want me to admit to manslaughter? You think I killed a real man? I say he was less than one. Shinya Kawai. He was little more than a subhuman brute. And you saw it. You saw what that brute did to my son. I hated Kitakata-sensei. He was an incompetent teacher. An idiot who turned a blind eye to Mitsuru being tortured. But that changed when he suddenly showed up 8 years later. And then he showed me that video. He said, every bully in that video, they deserved to be punished. That it was the only way to get closure.
You took him up on it? But you of all people should have known better.
True. You're right about that. I struggled with it quite a bit. It's an unconscionable act, no matter how deep your animosity runs. But Kitakata-sensei's words hung on. I couldn't get them out of my head. I saw for myself. I went to Kamurocho, where I'd heard Kawai was working, at a girls' bar. So you know, after Mitsuru jumped that day, Kawai came to me in tears to apologize. I hadn't seen him in all that time. If he'd frozen in place when he saw me, if he'd been the slightest bit apologetic, I might have been able to stay my hand.
I take it he didn't do any of that.
Right. He didn't even recognize my face. And that's hardly the worst part of it, actually. When he saw me, he took me for some bawdy cougar on the prowl for young men. If you've got the cash, I'll show you a good time, he said. All those tears he'd shed years earlier were a farce. But I knew that. Deep down, I'd already known that. That was it. That was the moment. I lost all doubt about killing him. And as for those other kids who bullied Mitsuru, they should thank me they didn't share his fate. But that's why I don't feel like I have any sins to atone for. Every night I pray he will wake up. What more can you ask me to endure?
Kawana said something similar. But you think you can repeat all that? This time say it to her.
Isn't that Sawa-san?
You and Kawana can congratulate yourselves. You got vengeance on a monster. But what you're choosing not to see is that your actions had consequences for her. It's vicious. I've seen this before. Justice for one at the cost of another. Someone innocent always pays the price. I won't just sit here and watch as history tries to repeat itself. This phone isn't being traced by anyone. So, if you have a change of heart, just give me a call before you turn yourself in. That's all I had to say. We're back.
Right here okay, Yagami-san?
Yeah. I'm gonna go talk to Kawana. Need to tell him I met with Reiko Kusamoto.
He's gonna be pissed, you know?
That's true.
You sure? 'Cause,
Well, look who we have.
It's only been 2 or 3 days.
How should I put this?
You know, this kind of shit is why you get on my nerves.
Couldn't we have done this by phone?
I just came from seeing Reiko Kusamoto. I told her
What?
What did she have to say?
that she had no sins to it.
Of course not. Look, what do you think you're doing?
This isn't yours to finish. You would just let Sawa-sensei stay How do you think her folks feel? They probably think you killed their daughter. And they don't know. Do they have to suffer like that? Would Sawa-sensei want that? You talk about justice, but she keeps getting left out.
Say whatever you want, but if you cause Kusamoto-san any more pain...
That's exactly why I didn't tell you I was going to meet her.
Listen, Yagami. She hides it well, but she's never gotten over the fact and she's not sure how to feel about killing Kawhi. Unlike me.
If she was anything like you, I would have pushed her harder to confess.
There's no evidence that she killed Kawhi. He simply... Besides, there's no case without a court. Even if she did turn herself in, the police...
Don't think for a second that you're getting a pass here. You've killed, what, 7 people now?
You got proof? Running around making baseless...
My colleagues in Kamurocho are getting ready to appeal Ahara's case. Your actions are going to be put under a microscope.
I wouldn't even call that bad news. I want the world to... And by then, I'll probably be going by a different name. Maybe even a different look.
You're just going to keep doing this?
Is that the only thing keeping you around? Truth be told, I don't think exposing everything is even in Sawa's...
What?
Sawa-kun herself felt guilty. I just sent you the proof.
What is this? An audio file?
After Ahara-san lost in court, she called me. I recorded our conversation.
Toshiro-kun came running to the roof. His face was pretty swollen. And a few minutes later, a student named Mikoshiba came up looking for him. I'll never forget the fear I saw in Toshiro-kun's face. He told me about everything. The teasing, the beatings, the theft. How nobody was on his side. And yet, I had to deny all this in front of an entire courtroom. They said there was no hope, that I was the only witness with no proof whatsoever. Believe me, I never wanted to do that.
Sawa-kun's testimony in court was false, and she was racked.
And your first thought was to record it? When she was at her most...
Yes. And then I played it for Ahara-san.
All you did was light the fires of vengeance in Ahara's heart because you didn't want to be alone.
You know, I've heard that bullying is almost instinctive. That's why people who do it... I mean, think about it. Would you stop cleaning a toilet just because it'll get filthy again? Somebody's always got to get his hands dirty.
And that somebody's gonna be...
If it means I can prevent another Mitsuru Kusamoto, yes, I will keep killing. These bastards who prey on the defenseless must be punished for all... I wish the law would do its job. Because deep down, I don't want to do any of this.
I understand what you're saying. But you're
If you really want to stop me, you're gonna have to kill me. And call it justice.
I thought you guys were gonna start another fight.
Next time I go up against him, it won't be just a few scratches.
Well, when that time comes, take...
Hello?
It's Shirosaki. Are you...
Yeah,
Yes, regarding the appeal.
off the record.
They want to discuss with the judge beforehand whether or not the video has gone viral, of course, and nobody's...
Is the prosecution really gonna hold the line on it?
That's quite possible, which is why we're meeting today in the courthouse conference room.
Of course.
Thank you very much. No...
So what you're saying is, Yui Mamiya was not a victim of sexual battery, but rather she conspired with Akihiro Ehara to fake a murder alibi. We've already closed the book on that ordeal, yet now the defense wants to write a sequel?
To establish the defendant's motive in the harassment, we need to bring the Mikoshiba murder to light. The groping itself was staged. It was all part of their script.
It sounds like the defendant has some strong hostility for the court.
Ihara got the court to accept his murder alibi by twisting the legal process to his own ends. It was easy to miss, because at the time, Mikoshiba's body hadn't been found yet. But we have to admit that we all got duped.
We? You're not even a lawyer. You're a detective.
Yagami-sensei still has a license to practice.
Forget what I said if it offended you, prosecutor.
My superiors always told me that in his youth, your Genda-sensei was a difficult man. He'd insist his clients were innocent, persisting even in the face of conviction. He was hostile to the prosecution, and was known to fraternize with Kamurocho Yakuza. But it was his sheer disrespect that made my boss hate him.
Damn. You sure know an awful lot about Genda-sensei.
Because I honestly can't say I like him. He treated me like a child when I was starting out.
I'll tell you this. There's no higher praise for the defense than being called difficult by the prosecution.
Now, if we can get back on track, can we confirm the defendant himself has agreed to the appeal?
Yes.
But if Ehara really committed the murder, why would he agree to...
Ihara's objective isn't to get away with murder.
Then what is he after?
Making a mockery of the legal system.
Then it'd be best not to pay him any attention.
And you'd be right. If your priority is saving face in front of the court rather than preserving fairness in the law.
You've got a real attitude.
Sorry I'm a bit late.
So, with this appeal, the defense wants to assert the defendant's innocence by establishing his guilt in a murder.
Wait, before we go on...
He's from the Metropolitan Police. Considering Ehara was on the force, he has a vested interest here. He's not here to participate, don't worry.
The police can't afford to be embarrassed any further. We need to send the right message to the public.
Can we have your name, please?
The name is Bando.
And your title?
Think of me as a kind of police coordinator. But don't let me interrupt the proceedings. Forget I'm even here. Please, continue.
So much for this meeting being off the record.
Allow me to restate the prosecution's opinion to the judge. We cannot allow the murder footage to be used as new evidence in Akihiro Ehara's appeal. It's nothing but an online hoax of unknown origin.
Indeed.
Furthermore, if Ehara bears such hostility towards the court, the footage might end up... Yes. What if the next viral video proves the original footage was doctored? What if the proceedings have already begun by then? Do we drop the appeal and call it... We cannot allow a man like Ehara to swing the court around by its nose at his whim. With that in mind, I believe Ehara's conviction. Would the defense care to comment? Did you think...
We aim to prove the defendant's innocence no matter what you're...
And what about you?
Ihara has to atone for Mikoshiba's murder. I can't look the other way while a killer evades his sentence.
Come now. Is that why you're appealing? If so, you're barking up the wrong tree.
Yagami-san, I understand how you feel, but being innocent of sexual battery...
What?
We're only appealing the groping case here.
Oh, right.
What is this nonsense?
We will prove Ihara is innocent of sexual battery.
You mean the murder video? You're no better than... Is there any real proof that the video is... Or are you trying to set a precedent for court sentences to hinge on dubious...
True. The prosecution might...
What?
The murder footage may not have shown Ihara-san assaulting anyone, but that alone doesn't prove him innocent.
Oh, right.
What is this nonsense?
Ihara's guilty. We don't think there was enough evidence at the first trial to result in that verdict.
There was fiber from the victim's underwear found...
That was a trick. It was...
There is no evidence it was a trick. Are you saying Yui Mamiya... Was there perhaps any security
No,
footage?
the station erases the footage from their cameras after...
Right. But if there's even a chance Ihara and Mamiya were... What were the other deciding factors? Security footage? The smartphone videos we kept seeing on TV? Those don't prove the crime either, because there was a huge time gap in them.
What?
We've done enough legwork to know. We can clearly see, keeping the estimated time of death in mind, it would be...
The prosecution's stance is that internet... There's too much of a chance it was...
Then we're at an impasse, aren't we?
That's why appealing is a waste of time. It's a by-the-book groper case.
It's still too early. Did you walk around the site with...
Well, no. But I have been...
Then you must know they have a mountain of security cameras. But if you went there to look carefully, you'd find... That's Ihara running, while Mamiya chases after him. It seems as though the whole chase is recorded. But this area in dotted lines is a blind spot no camera saw. That's the momentary gap in time.
The victim was running right behind Ihara.
Oh, but she knew about the swap all along. They were...
Can you prove that?
We don't have to prove the defendant is innocent, Takano-san.
What?
All we have to prove is that the evidence provided by the prosecution at the trial was insufficient to determine guilt. Because that's the role of a defense.
Indeed it is.
The prosecution can't debunk any and all possibility that the train groping was a
Then the defense should have brought it up the first time. Although I doubt Shirosaki-sensei actually believed in the defendant's innocence.
The guilty verdict at the trial was orchestrated by the defendant. It was our error not to have seen it at the time. But it would be another not to correct...
Stop being so dramatic. He's just a subway perv.
That is a statement I cannot abide. The law can't give the impression that a false charge is permissible, even for a subway perv.
Right.
I do believe this case is worth a trial in the appeal court. If the court was misled by a hostile defendant, then only the court.
Thank you very much.
However, I too have seen Ihara-san's murder footage. Therefore, I cannot allow it to be brought in.
Sorry, son. Think you got this covered?
Huh?
I'll poke my head in at the office later.
Very well. We'll be expecting you.
Bando-san, was it? From...
I don't recall saying my department different. But yeah, that's right.
Do you know Reiko Kusamoto? The vice?
Of course.
Any particular reason she's under constant surveillance?
A rather bold question, isn't it?
It's just you and me here.
I see you know how to cut to the chase, Yagami-sensei.
Ahara's trial can't be that important to you, so I have to figure I'm the reason you showed up. You want to know where Kawana is, don't you? Were you finally forced to get off your ass because nobody else can get...
Kawana, otherwise known as Yu Kitakata.
Wanted for murder? Huh. Because you know, I thought it was RK acting on your orders that killed Sawa-sensei. You think you can hide that fact forever? Even the cops in the field have their suspicions.
Do they? Well, the cubicle workers, all officers in the field complain about their superiors.
Then why did you use thugs as your pawns instead of officers? Is that how Sawa-sensei got roped into this?
I'm afraid I'm not...
You knew it was going to be a dirty job from the beginning. That's why you couldn't use anybody on the force. Or maybe you just weren't able to find an underling you could fully trust. Public security's only tricks are surveillance and call tracing. You leave the dirty...
That may be true, but it's enough to crush the light.
I'm gonna ask just in case.
Hand over Kawana to me and there will be no more victims.
What?
Do you have a reason to protect him? I already know he's going around executing bullies. He's a disturbance to public order.
But he wasn't the one who killed
I didn't come here to argue. I came to issue an ultimatum.
Yagami-san, that man Bondo, I knew...
Yeah, there's no doubt about it.
I see. That
Hoshino-kun.
Yeah. One of the bosses, Akutsu, came back to Kamurocho yesterday.
He's back?
He's number 2 in the group.
So he would probably...
Well, I'm not sure if you're aware, Yagami-san, but RK owns some of the cabaret clubs in Kamurocho. And Akutsu, if a girl makes a lot of sales, or if she becomes a rising star, Akutsu apparently gives that girl a bonus. Personally.
How do you know this stuff?
Our clients come from all walks of life in Kamurocho.
So to sum it all up, a popular girl has a chance to meet...
But this week nobody was getting that chance. Until yesterday. Which is how I figured out Akutsu is back in Kamurocho. He must have been in Yokohama.
Oh, wow. That makes sense.
That's the part I don't know. RK bosses never sleep in the same place twice.
But despite the risk, Akutsu still reaches out to popular...
Hey, I'm not even mad. In fact, I'm up for the challenge.
Awesome, Sari-san. If you can rock the cabaret gig again, you can...
It'd be an undercover mission to infiltrate RK. Super risky. But damn if I don't want to see Saori-san transform one...
What the hell's gotten into you?
Are there any bars we know for sure that are...
There is. You remember Queen Rouge?
Queen Rouge. What about... The owner, still the same guy?
Yep, he's still there. One of the original employees. Only thing is, it used to be a classy spot, but they've cut a lot of corners.
Well, maybe that means...
Hey, totally! I want to go too!
This is no time to be idiots.
Okay, well, sorry, son, you'll need the whole makeover.
No need, I'll be fine.
Huh?
Just the other day, Mari-san and I figured out what kind of makeup goes over well with
Mari? Well, counterpoint, I think a man might...
With all due respect, don't judge what you haven't seen.
Oh, okay, I'll leave it to you, Sari-san.
Believe me, I'm not one to boast, but I'm confident.
That's the spirit.
True. And we've got Yagami-san.
All right, should we get on
Let's
with
do this.